So realized vol, big spike. You can see here, jumping about 30 points in terms of 10-day. So there's a big jump from 20 to 50 in Bitcoin realized. Obviously, the implieds went up too, but they've started correcting already. Even bigger jump in Ethereum, got a 40-point realized jump up to 60. A nice big spike in the implieds, and again correcting. But these moves down in vol, not retracing the whole vol spike. We have got really negative carry right now. So the implieds clearly have not risen as much as the realized, as they wouldn't in this type of move, because it was like a one-day type move. So the implieds are already pricing that things are going to settle down, and now we just need enough time to pass to those for those big moves to fall out of the sample, and then the realized can collapse straight back down again, right? That's kind of what we're starting to see that in terms of the vol fading a little bit, right? The weekend was pretty stable. We didn't see massive moves over the weekend. It was just those big moves last Thursday that really got things going. And like I say, yeah, the market for now doesn't seem to be acting like this is a long-term structural change, that we are now going to be much more volatile. It's more behaving like, okay, that was a shock. The market's digested it, proved to us that we're going to be in a new range now for a week, and we're going to slam the vol, basically. So I think that's the most likely outcome if this new range kind of holds. Okay, look at the term structure. As you'd expect, a pop in term structure. We did briefly go into inversion, but we settled back on Bitcoin. So we got a contango, but a much less steep contango than we had. So we got the front end up by about 5 to 7 vol points. Back end only moving up 1 vol point there. So long calendar structures look interesting here, where you'd be buying things in the kind of October onwards bucket, and you'd be selling September against it, something like that. We don't mind those sort of setups. Ethereum term structure is inverted. So you can see the front end weeklies here are higher, and they drop off a bit, and then the long end goes up again there. We saw a 10 vol point shift higher in the front end of Ethereum, so really dramatic, and the back end moving up about 3 or 4 vols. You'll remember we have been getting more bullish in long-term vol. We did, though, buy outright calls because we're bullish on spot as well. That wasn't clearly the right call, although long-term vol has worked. You just needed to be delta neutral to make any money out of it, because the spot, or delta short if you were bearish. But assuming you bought the vol delta neutral, you have finally had your first up week in quite some time, as we saw a 3 to vol point repricing higher in that vol. Looking at the relative value, you can see the relative value hasn't changed that much. So you've got a little bit of an uplift here in the back and in the front. Middle kind of staying, middle staying where it is. So you basically got the front trading a little bit above zero. We still got most of the curve trading in negative territory, somewhere in the 2 to 3 vols, Ethereum under Bitcoin still. And that's despite realized going up here to 12. So 30-day realized is at 5, Ethereum over, and 10-day realized is at above 10 for Ethereum over. And yet you can see the vol surface, like whatever, we'd still rather own Bitcoin vol, right? So clearly that's saying to you that there's more memory in this surface, thinking that this Ethereum move is going to be short-lived, and Bitcoin's still the one in the driving seat in terms of real volatility in crypto, which is, again, more likely to happen on the upside. That seems to be what the space is telling us. Now, if crypto markets do rebound and we go back to an area of abundant Ethereum vol supply, which I think is what we're going to see if we bounce, right? The overwriters are not going anywhere. They're going to keep coming. So Ethereum realized is likely to be sort of contained if that happens. And then the spread is likely to stay in negative territory for longer. So that's kind of what the vol market is telling you. And it's basically saying if it goes down, if the market goes down, then Ethereum can potentially out-realize. But on the way up, it seems very unlikely right now. That's kind of what the relative value is telling us. Looking at SKEW, a big repricing in SKEW this week. Market's turning south, taking the front end Bitcoin SKEW to a 4 vol put premium, which was about a 4 vol call premium last week. The middle of the curve has been taken to neutral, which is like the 2-month area. Back of the curve is still holding for calls at 3.5 volts. We've got a very, very steep curve in terms of put premium in the front, nothing in the middle, call premium at the back. So there's a very clear picture that the SKEW is telling you for expectations around Bitcoin, which is stay cautious in the near term, 25K could be at risk of breaking down, but longer term, we all want calls, right? That's kind of what it's saying. If we look at Ethereum SKEW, that's been holding a put premium for a while. That's been a bit more sticky. We've got about a 4 to 5 volt put premium now through most of the curve, except at the back, it's about 2 volt put premium, but it is still puts all across the curve there. So a clear divergence between what Bitcoin longer dated upside is saying and what we're seeing in Ethereum. And a large part of that is because you get all this supply coming on the call side in Ethereum in December, started to see some March supply as well. So that is keeping pressure on those calls, and that's keeping a put premium for the SKEW. So now, despite this dramatic wick lower in the daily candle last week for Ethereum getting below 1500 on Deribit futures, we've seen Ethereum recover and it's outperforming Bitcoin on the week. This is in contrast to the SKEW divergence, which is suggesting that Bitcoin is the one you want to own, not Ethereum. So there's more bearish sentiment towards Ethereum than there is Bitcoin. We do think on the upside, Ethereum is probably going to struggle to break 1900 in the near term without serious catalyst. I mean, obviously 1900 looks quite a way away from where we are right now. I'm just saying, if markets do bounce, I think there's a lot of open interest. There's a lot of long positioning from dealers still up at 1900, which is going to create a bit of a wall in that call area, like a call wall, if you want to call it, through those overwriters. And also, if we stay around here below 1700, don't be surprised to see rolling down of call overwrites where they might kind of buy back their 2000 strikes and sell the 1800 strikes to get more premium. And that will bring more vol supply to the Ethereum market, right? So that's the type of flows that I anticipate we will see in Ethereum ongoing. Okay, vol dashboards are saying buy calls all over the shop, as you would expect. That's just based on a mean reversion model. I'm not rushing out to buy calls, especially right now. I already bought them in the long end, so I'm happy to sit on them. Obviously, you see this big drop, but then much more stability came in the last few days. So don't be surprised if this carry flips from negative to positive pretty dramatically at some point next week, if markets can kind of stay kind of weird, treading water as they are this week. I don't personally think Jackson Hole is going to move crypto that much. That's my feel. Let's see if I'm proven right or wrong. Dashboard here, similar story, deep in buy calls. I actually think buying call ratios, call calendars are better trades right now. Instead of just buying outright calls, because I'm just not sure we found a bottom yet, right? So we may still need to test lower levels. So if you did want to dip your toes in, I think doing it like that's probably a better trade right now. Okay, flow-wise, option volumes, big spike, obviously, second largest liquidation in Deribit history in notional terms. That's a pretty big stat. Put buying came in before and after the breakdown. You see here, decent amount of put volume. 26K, 25K strikes in August, and the 25K puts in Sep with the big clips. Calls were also active in the 30K line and the 32K line. Higher strikes were generally getting sold. And then we saw a big clip of 25, 40K bullish riskies in December. Someone taking advantage of the drop and the fact that SKEW has kind of repriced a bit towards puts to sell those puts to buy calls to basically be set up for a move into year end. I actually quite like that trade. I obviously bought 40 calls by themselves. I didn't sell any puts. But you know what? If we were to get a little push down below 25K and the market got spooked, I may actually consider smashing out some of those puts as well and keep them and get that premium back that I've spent on those 40K calls, effectively legging in to a risk reversal that way. Okay. If we look at Ethereum flows, volumes are also higher, not as dramatic a spike as Bitcoin though. Before the drop, we saw a load of usual supply on the upside in that 2000 area. Lots of December calls being sold via outrights, via calendars, set deck calendars, things like that. So that's the general overwriting flow being managed, or maybe new fresh overwriting flow coming in. As spot dropped, we did see a pickup in put buying on the 1600, 1500 area in the short dates, August through to October. And then clearly gamma sellers would have been burnt on these liquidations. So I'd expect us to see, we need to see maybe a week of stability before the gamma sellers come back in because they're going to be like licking their wounds a little bit, right? So I suspect, right, unless there's endless appetite to come back and sell, I guess we'll find out. But if that type of move had just happened to me and I'd been short vol on a 20 handle, I'd probably be waiting a little while before going out and selling loads more. Okay. And then crypto strategy. What have I been doing? Oh, sorry, it's not crypto strategy. Gamma positioning first. BTC and Ethereum gamma positioning did flip shorter as protection buyers rushed in and the spot moved south. So you can see we were in positive gamma territory. On the break, we went down and we've been pretty stable in negative for the last few days. All of these red bars kind of account for the majority of that, which is 25th of August expiry in the local region between 25K and 28K. So that seems to be where the street has found itself a bit short gamma right now and continues to be into the end of this week. Looking at the dealer gamma on ETH, it was pretty long. It went down to 0 on that move. So we're now pretty neutral. If you look at the top of that, you can see a lot of September options dotted around. But in general, the street looks to be short local, long wings against it, particularly on the upside. So that's why I'm saying if we do rally to sort of 1850, I think we're going to meet a bit of a wall of resistance from all that gamma on the upside. And that's going to make it hard for Ethereum to really blast higher and have some good realized vol on the upside. So that's my expectation. I can understand why people aren't going out there buying too much Ethereum vol right now because the setup is clearly there for Ethereum to continue to struggle. If you were uber bearish on spot and you're like 25K is going to go, we're going to visit 20K again, this thing's going to get sold hard, then you might be more bullish on Ethereum vol, right? So for the bears, Ethereum vol makes sense, maybe put spreads, something like that. But for the bulls, hard to get excited about Ethereum vol right now, I would say. I think it needs a much clearer catalyst. We haven't really got one on the horizon. Okay, crypto strategy. So I've kind of started sending out intra-week alerts so you guys know what I'm up to in crypto during the week. You don't just wait for the weekly summary. So I sent out an alert pretty much last week when we were breaking down below 28K. You can see here, spot kind of broke 28. I was like, okay, that was the level it needed to hold. It's broken it. I need to add some hedges back to the hedge that I chose. That's the summary for this week in crypto. Thanks a lot. As always, I'll catch you guys later.